John, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, you tired yet?
Not yet, but I will be tomorrow.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So tell us a little bit about the show. We're here on the last day. So how did things go this week?
This week was a fantastic week from the perspective of the theme of the show, which was the full spectrum of supply chain.
Right.
And when you looked at the floor and the technologies that the exhibitors brought, you saw everything from simple material handling equipment all the way up through complex automated systems, and also the software and the solution providers that connect all these systems together. That was really impressive to see all the technologies on display for the entire supply chain in one place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very interesting to see that the attendee, right, has become more knowledgeable, right? And I think as I started coming to the MHI events in 2019 at ProMat, and it's interesting to see, I mean, the development first of the technology just in the last 5 years for me, and you know, I think you see the attendee too is not just coming to see, you know, necessarily the cool robot, but they already know, like, oh, what type of robotic solutions do they want, and then all the other things that come along with that. So I think the full spectrum, I mean, is so fitting for where we are right now within the material handling space, because there are so many of those aspects where, you know, these solutions need to be connected together. So there's that software focus as well, and you know, making sure those things can integrate, have that interoperability and communicate as well. And I think it's just so cool to see how this industry has grown and kind of just exploded, right? I mean, tell us about the size of the event this year, because this is the first time we have the A Hall, right?
Yes, that's correct. And there's 300 more exhibitors than there were at Modex 2 years ago.
Wow.
Which really required to add on a whole hall, and a whole exhibit hall. And when we started with it, when we added it, we're like, will it fill? You know, will the exhibitors come and fill out this hall? And it is completely filled.
It is full
with the technologies. And then as you bring 300 more exhibitors, you also have to bring the attendees. You have to bring the attendees when you have such a big space. And to put in perspective, Modex has grown over 30% this year in overall square footage.
Wow.
And then you have to have the attendees. And the attendees, they came. I described Tuesday, it was like the Charlotte airport on a Monday morning, where you couldn't walk down the aisles without bumping into somebody. It was absolutely packed. And your comment about the attendees and the attendees being more sophisticated, they what we found this year is attendees bringing buying teams, multiple teams. Instead of having one person trying to consume all of this technology and all these ideas, they would bring 10 or 20 or some of them 50 people, and they would send them out as buying teams to be able to look at the different technologies, and then they would come back together, share what they learned, and then be able to make decisions and narrow down their suppliers or potential suppliers based on the technologies that they saw. Really interesting dynamic of that. We saw multiple large companies bringing full teams of people.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because it kind of goes to the testament of, you know, these solutions that maybe a couple years ago were kind of thinking like, oh, this is in the future. They're here now, and I think they're proven, and people are coming to make a decision, right? They're not coming necessarily just to explore a little bit, and I think that's very interesting to see, and just the overall growth of the show itself just kind of shows how the industry has grown like that. So do you have any attendee numbers yet you could share with us? I'm hearing around 40,000.
Right now we don't have the final attendees, but we have the registrations, and the registrations were up 25% over the last Modex.
Oh, wow.
So it's touching the 50,000 range of registered attendees, and so that was a huge increase. And as I mentioned, you know, big buying companies Fortune 100 companies, they were sending their people here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's just a massive number, and I mean it's incredible to see just that growth, and we love warehouses here at the new warehouse, so it's great to see that interest and explosion in the industry of all those people coming together to be able to see these types of things. So tell us a little bit, what are some of the highlights for you from this week?
Yeah, the highlights when you see the technologies, and one of the themes this year, which it's a theme in the industry, is how do you wrap artificial intelligence, or you could call it machine learning, or some combination between the two. How do you put that on top of these technologies to allow you to take the data, take the information, and process it in a more we call it human-centric approach. So you provide the tools, these software tools, so that the humans or the people, your workers, can make more informed decisions. And that was a theme of our annual industry report, and also there are several companies that are offering solutions in that space, directly in that space, whether it's in the automation space or whether it's transportation management, where you're managing the last mile logistics, whether it's in the supplier, picking the right suppliers. There's many different applications where this type of software and this intelligence software is assisting in the process. And that was a theme, connecting the pieces together. But last year when we chatted, it was about connecting the devices together so they could talk. This year, now it was about layering in the intelligence on top, so that now you can make really informed decisions.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's such a great thing to point out, and I'll say too, I mean, as we look, we're right around the corner here in the A-Hall from the startup pavilions, right, and a lot of them, the startups are focused on that, bringing that intelligence and taking that data and being able to give you better visibility into those types of things, and I think it's really an interesting theme to see, because I think we're trying to be smarter, I think, in the warehouse and the way we're approaching things and the decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis within those operations, or those long-term decisions as well. And as we're adding more technology and layering those things in, as you mentioned, I mean, we're just generating so much data nonstop, right? And how do we take that data, harness it? How do we make better decisions based off that data? And I think that's really an important thing to highlight, and I'm happy that you guys are focused on that and seeing that as a trend too within the industry around that intelligence. So tell us a little bit about, I'm curious how MHI kind of works with these startups and kind of helps to maybe nurture them, give them some exposure, and hopefully one day get them to a big booth, right?
Yes, with the startups, as these companies have these great ideas, they don't really have the platform to get the exposure that they need to really launch their companies. So a year ago at ProMat, we started with the Startup Pavilion.
Yeah.
And we featured startup companies and allowed them to come in to give them visibility. But beyond that, then we built a startup community. So it's not just about the 4 days of the show.
Yeah.
We built a community where we provide resources on how to start your business. We have educational sessions to bring them along in that journey and in that process. And this year was really interesting because we had a pitch competition,
right,
like our own mini Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And with the pitch competition, the judges first took the 10 that were here, selected the top 3. They were able to, in front of a live audience, give their pitch. And then the judges, these are independent judges, selected the top winner. And the winner at Industry Night, we presented them with a $10,000 check to help fuel their business. Yeah. So that's the kind of, bringing them together, giving them the platform, then also highlighting them, and then also funding them. So that's what we're doing to support the startup community.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great thing, and it's so important to do that, because the startups, they need that support, right? They have some great ideas, and we have some friends that have been on the podcast over there, like Two Boxes, and Pacurate, Arvist, Response too as well, Intact, and I think that it's great that you guys are nurturing that and helping that along, and being able to do that and kind of help, I guess, bring the future of the warehousing and material handling industry to the forefront. So as we look to the future, right, tell us a little bit about, MHI does much more than just Modex and ProMat. So tell us about what's coming up later this year and at the beginning of next year for MHI in terms of events.
Yeah, lots of events. So as we move from Modex and move to the next event, MHI has our traditional spring meeting where we bring the industry groups together. That's in May, and that's where the industry groups work on building the standards for the technologies. They build on the awareness for the technologies, and it's a collaborative event where our industry verticals come together. And then we follow that right after that in June, the first week in June in Dallas with the Work Conference.
Right.
And the Work Conference is what we do is we bring together practitioners, people who are running warehouse and distribution and fulfillment centers. And what they do is it's peer-to-peer learning. So they put on seminars specifically designed around professional development, improving their operations, sharing best practices. And that'll be held. I believe the dates are June 4th through the 6th in Dallas.
Yes.
So we'll build that one, and then through the summer we'll be planning for our annual conference that we have coming up, and that's MHI's annual conference where we bring together education for our members and for the industry as a whole, and we'll start once this show starts full speed for planning a ProMat. So ProMat 2025 is already sold to a record level.
Wow.
And like we did with Modex, where we had to add an extra hall to accommodate the growth, we have done that also in Chicago. So we'll be moving it to the Lakeside Pavilion or Lakeside Hall.
Yeah.
And we've already started selling that. So it's going to be exciting times in Chicago. The shows continue to grow. The technology continues to advance, and it's exciting times in the supply chain, warehousing, and distribution world.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to see it continue to grow and expand like that, not only here at Modex, as we saw this week, but also at ProMat next year, and we'll be at the Work Conference too as well, so we hope to see some people there. I think I went for the first time last year. I think it's a great conference, a great way to learn a lot of things from the industry and see some of those sessions and talk. So it's a great thing that you all do. If people are interested in learning more about MHI and getting involved, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so our website, mhi.org, within that website, which we just launched a brand new website, by the way. We launched that about a month ago. But you'll find underneath the MHI umbrella, there's 18 industry verticals. So you'll find technology solutions along the lines of 18 different types of product verticals. And then work.org, WERC.org, is where you'll find all the information about the Work Conference and all the materials and thought leadership that's provided for work is in there. There's best practices, there's case studies. There's also one of the things we're doing this year with work is we're revitalizing the work chapters, the local chapters, with the idea, like post-COVID, a lot of the chapters kind of went away, and we're revitalizing those and building those so that you have the opportunity to meet locally, and particularly they have education, professional development, and some type of a tour, facility tour.
Nice.
So those will be, I think right now we have 8 scheduled, and we're continuing to build that out throughout the year. So work.org, WERC.org, you can find that.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, and we're definitely a New Jersey chapter. I'm interested to hear about that. We'll talk about that. But John, it's a pleasure to talk to you always, and I always appreciate MHI's support for the podcast and allowing us to be at the show and do our thing here. It's a great thing you guys do for the industry to be able to highlight all these things, and I really appreciate you stopping by and giving us a little scoop on Modex this week.
It's been a great week.
All right. Thank you, John.
All right, take care.
All right, enjoy the rest of the day.